All right, so these are 4.1.3 notes. So your essential question, how can we graph? So today we're going to add graphing a rule for a pattern that and showing where that graph grows and starts. On the top here, I've just included what a complete setup for a graph would look like. So if you're a little unfamiliar, we need to get this in our notes so that we make sure that we're graphing correctly. So it's got an x-axis, a y-axis. I've labeled it. We want to do all four quadrants when we're graphing, so all four. So what I want you to copy right now is get your essential question, get this little graph demo graph example in there, and then this is the pattern we're going to be working with today. So I do want you to copy figure 1, 2, and 3. And why don't you go ahead and try and draw figure 4 as well, and then we'll come back and we'll draw figure 4 together and then talk about it. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're going to draw figure 0, but the other thing we're gonna start doing on all of our representations, we started it a little bit last time, is show the starts with and grows by on every one. Obviously figure 0 is our starts with, but we wanna use our colors and our highlighters to also show how our patterns, our tables, our rules, and our graphs are growing so we get some consistency. So starting with what figure 0 might look like, to me, this pattern just adds 2 to the end every time. So if I take 2 off from the end, I believe that figure 0 should kind of look just like a little L. Should have just 2 stacked here and just 1 off the edge here. So hopefully, do you guys agree with me? Figure 0. Okay, so if I want to show starts with and grow, we always are going to practice circling our starts with. So here is your starts with, right? It's always figure 0, never figure 1, always figure 0. And then our growth, we're going to do by highlighting. So what I see as growth here is I'm adding these 2 on the end every time. So I've got starts with and growth in this pattern. So now let's make a table for the pattern. So here is your table setup. So let's go ahead and pause. And it'd be great if you can just fill this table out while it's paused as well. I know this is the we do it together side, but you should be able to do the table on your own. Okay, so if we're filling out the table, the nice thing is, at least for figures 0 through 3, we can just look at our pattern, right? We have 3 tiles here. This one has 5 tiles. This one has 7. This one had 9. So I think we can continue that pattern. And 4 should have 11. 5 would have 13. Okay, so we want to do the same thing. We want to show our starts with and our grows by. So we're going to circle that starts with. So that starts at 0, 3. And then in the table, we show that growth with those little arrows, if you remember. So we show to get from one pattern to the next. In this case, it's +2, +2, +2, +2, and +2. So there's a good complete table. So now the next thing we've learned how to do is our rule, right? So what I've done here, and you need to copy down, is I've written our rule format that we learned. We learned that y equals mx plus b. Y is the output, m is the growth, x is the input, b is the starts with. So then we just need to go in and fill out the rule. If I did +2, then this first blank should be my 2, and it starts with 3 tiles. So 3, and then I'm going to go in and highlight the growth and circle the starts with, just so that I've got that consistency on all 3 representations. All right, now is our new one, go ahead and copy this graph down. So this is the last thing going on your right side, so find space for it. Get this graph in. We'll pause it here. Okay, so we can do this two ways, right? We can use our table to graph, or we can use our rule to graph. So if I look above, I'm always going to start my graph at my starts with. So my graph needs to start at 0, 3, because figure 0 has 3 tiles. So I'm going to start on 0, which is just my y-axis, go up 3, and there is where your graph starts. So we can go ahead and circle that right now, because that's our starts with, is that point right there. And then it grows by 2 every time. So that means I need to go over one figure, up 2, that puts me at 5, which if we look at our table, 1, 5 is that next point. So then when I go over 1, sorry guys, I need to go up 2, that puts me at 7. When you're graphing, you need to graph at least 3 points before we can connect our dots. I have my 3 points, so I can go ahead, and you need to use some kind of straight edge. It doesn't have to be a ruler, just something straight to connect those 3 dots and make your graph keep going. So if I connect my 3 dots, that's great, but we need more than that. So I want us to keep our graph going in both directions. So that's why you want your straight edge, so that we can build a nice big graph. All right, here's the other new piece. How do we show growth on the graph? We've already circled our starts with. Here's how you're going to show growth. They're called growth triangles. You go from one point, you go over and up to the next. See how that made a little triangle? And then you just show me how big that triangle is. This one is plus 2. And then I'm going to do one more. Go over and up to make a little growth triangle and show me that that triangle grows by 2. So that there is your right side notes, and that's all the different representations that we're going to learn. So you now know everything you need to know. Okay, so this is the left side, right? This is the you do. So what I would say is start with your pattern and your table. Fill those out. Once you've got those, move on to your graph and your rule. Make sure your graph has at least 3 dots, and then you connect your points, and then play this after you get that done. Okay, this one is a little harder. So the way I see this one growing, this is different. It adds 2 on the end, but it also adds 2 in the middle. That's what I see. I see 2 on the ends and then 2 in the middle. So that would mean that these would have been new, and one of those would have been new. So figure 0 was kind of a tricky one for this one, but what I see it as is just 3 squares for figure 0, and then we will circle it because that's your starts with. So then filling out the table, input 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Remember, we want to start at 0, not 1. We've got 0 has 3 tiles. Figure 1 adds 3 plus 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 tiles. Figure 2 should then have 15 tiles. Figure 3 will have 21 tiles. If we use this pattern, so here's figure 0, I'll circle it, and then we need to figure out what this pattern is so that we can find figure 4 and 5, and we know from up top that we're adding 6 every time, plus 6 plus 6. So 21 plus 6 is 27. 27 plus 6 is 33. Okay, so moving on to our graph and our rule. So I need to have my first point on my graph at 0, 3 is the first point, and I will go ahead and circle it because I know that's where it starts. And then this guy grows by 6. So when I go over 1, I need to go up 6. Now, the way that this is, I'm going to run out of graph on that side. So I need to go the other side, which means this time when I go over 1 to the left, I need to go down 6. See how that happens? It's like going backwards in the table. Instead of adding 6, we're going to subtract 6. I've got my 3 dots, so I can go ahead and connect them with the ultimate goal, and mine's not going to be perfect. It's okay if yours is off a little bit. The ultimate goal is being able to extend so that it's bigger. And then we need to go in and build those growth triangles. So I went over 1 all the way up plus 6. It's a triangle, it's just a tall triangle. So I go over 1 and all the way up plus 6. So there's our growth triangle for that one. So that leaves our rule. Should be easy at this point, right? We have y equals mx plus b, y is the output, m is the growth, x is the input, b is your starts with. So I'll fill it in with our growth of 6, our starts with of 3, circle your starts with, and highlight your growth. So there is all, for example, all 4 types of problems with growth and starts with labeled in each.